what we're going to be talking about today is the connected team reaching new levels of performance. And the aim today is for us to show how we can maximize the effectiveness of your human performance team by utilizing technology and enhancing your data sharing and collaboration. Now, a colleague of mine once gave me this equation as a basic framework to understand what we do as a human performance team and the factors that we have impact on. But as we took this basic framework and we started to have more and more conversations with the people in this room, okay, and across our network, what became clear was that we were missing a key factor, okay? And that factor was readiness, or what I really like is how the tactical realm describes as preparedness. Now, before we get into how technology fits into this, what I want to do is I just want to talk about who makes up this team, okay? So we have the medical staff, okay? Strength conditioning coaches, dietitians. We're going to talk about the kitchen staff, okay, who prepare the meals, the sports scientists, and the coaching staff as part of the human performance team. We know that we collaborate with them a lot in our roles, and they have a huge impact upon these factors of availability and readiness. Now, diving into the how here, we want to talk about how we can leverage technology, okay, to drive the effectiveness of the human performance team. We wanted to tell a bit of a story of the day in the life of an athlete and how the staff facilitate the athlete's movement throughout the day. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Luke and let him introduce our athlete.
So I'm playing Caleb, the athlete, today. In this scenario, Caleb's cleared for practice, full participation, coming off some Achilles tendonitis. And because of that, you all in the room know there's a few more eyeballs on me. There's more attention to the care that's being provided, maybe just to a little bit greater degree. And we want to bring it back to this slide, you all the people in this room, but replace availability and readiness with myself, Caleb, the athlete, because two really important things are going to happen. We've heard it a ton: accessibility, collaboration as the human performance unit. So the kind of vehicle we're going to use here today is the Teamworks vehicle. He only has to go to one place here. That's the source of truth, right? That's the business account that you're putting and providing for your athlete. That's going to start from here in this moment, when I wake up, to when we rinse and repeat, evolve it, and do it again the next day. So as an example, I'm going to be in that one source of truth dashboard here with Teamworks. And that's going to start with the very first thing that I'm going to have to do is go through, like we do as all adults, the scheduling piece, right? The components, what logistically really is going to fall onto my plate. But how can I provide you all in this room some feedback right away, right? How well did I sleep? How many hours? What's the fatigue that's going on? Mood, stress levels, et cetera, all the things that you all have in play there. Again, going through that one mobile application. And then the second piece is I'm going to go ahead and start doing some rehab pieces right there at home before I ever even enter the facility and start work.
What we want to move into now is think about what's happening in the day while Caleb's kind of getting ready to come into the facility. We know that the staff are probably already in there and they're setting up assessment tools, okay? But they're also trying to look through the data that's available to them to get context for what's going to happen throughout the day. Now, what's common, and I'm sure you're all familiar with this, is there's a morning staff medical and performance meeting. And this is where you all get together and you talk about each of your athletes and what types of interventions you want to do throughout the day. And what's critical at this time is the availability of data and the shared understanding of the data that's available. So what we're going to look at here is we're actually going to look at how we can utilize a dashboard within the Teamworks AMS system to collaborate during that meeting. And then we're also going to take a look at a specific practitioner doing an action off the back of that meeting, specifically the dietitian updating a meal plan based on that conversation. So let's jump in. What we've got here is a very simple readiness dashboard that's got some key metrics from the wellness data we just collected and some of the training load data. What we can do in the meeting is sort of filter up and down to see who's at risk. So we've got Caleb at the top for a soreness flag. Now, what I want to do is be able to jump across to the individual tab and dive a little bit deeper into Caleb's data, because we know where he's at today, but how did he get there? So again, whatever data you put on this particular view, you can start to see the trends that have led up to where Caleb is. At the bottom, we can see sort of a trend and some training load data. It's RPEs or it's actual GPS data. Now, the conversation has happened during the meeting. We've got to increase Caleb's caloric intake because he's now returning to practice. So jumping over, the dietitian can go into the Teamworks nutrition product, make a change from the injury recovery meal plan into the return to play meal plan. So again, the idea would be that during that meeting, we are making a decision on an intervention, and then within this ecosystem, we can go and take that action. And that meal plan and all of its components will be communicated both to the athlete and throughout the other Teamworks products.
So basically now pulling out of the parking lot, right, and headed into the facility, going to go ahead and start to communicate with the nutrition team, that entire team, which is including the kitchen staff here. I'll say it again a lot, right? I want to actually repeat that as coming back to that same source of truth, which is going to be the dashboard. Next action item is that I'm putting in my meal, right? Exactly what I'm going to be able to eat that day, delivered instantaneous to the kitchen staff. That really probably one of the most important things is when am I available to actually pick that up, right? It's not necessarily dictated on the folks in the room, but what's most important is the athlete in that standpoint. Then instantaneously being able to check in and share that I'm available right through the mobile application, through that QR code, to the sports medicine team that I'm going to be prepared and ready to work with.
So where we are in the day, we have Caleb's now in the facility. He's checked in to let the sports medicine team know that he's available. So what we want to be able to do is grab Caleb for some treatment. But what I don't want to miss out on here is what the kitchen staff are doing based on the order that Caleb has just placed. So where we're going to start here is we're going to take a look at the kitchen side of the nutrition product. And what we can do is we can open the breakfast meal. And what we can see here is Caleb's meal that he's placed through the Teamworks app. And now we can just let Caleb know that it's cooking and it's available for him when he arrives at 7:30. Now on the AMS side or EMR side here, what the athletic trainer can do is open Caleb's existing injury record and start by getting context on what's been done previously with Caleb. Then what they can do is jump in and create a new treatment, okay, and document this interaction. So we're doing a lower leg massage, and then we're going to put some notes in about what we actually did to ensure we're being compliant. But then we're also going to write in here that we're going to make a change in rehab exercises to include the hydro protocol that we'll go through in more detail. Now, the last piece is we want to be able to encourage collaboration with strength conditioning. So we're going to go to the section of this form where we can create a weight room status update, mark full participation, and then let the coach know that we want them to implement the hydro protocol during today's session, okay? Once we save this, now an alert will be able to go to the strength conditioning coach to go and make that modification in Teamwork strength conditioning. But before we get to that, we'll hand back to Luke.
Yeah, so now it's go time, right? All that work's been done. All the players have been added, reporting to practice, pieces here, they're going to happen, coming right back in. But logistically is really the instantaneous communication. Maybe a director of operations in this case saying there's been a last minute movement there within practice, calming the noise, any anxiety that can happen with that. Basically now in the locker room and jumping right on, kind of Bluetoothing through a set of scales, entering in the body weight for the day that's happening, again, clearly communicating with you all some of the decisions that are going to be made down the road here later on in the day.
Cool. So now, at the same time that Caleb is going through that process of weighing in and heading out to practice, we know that the strength conditioning coach also has to be present for practice. Now, in our scenario here, the way that we sort of talked about this is there are situations where you have practice and then immediately go into a lift, okay? So you only have a small window to make adjustments, or else you're going to be scrambling when you get to the lift to add those adjustments to Caleb's program. So what we want to demonstrate here is that the coach can get that alert from the athletic trainer to make the modification, and then go straight across to the strength conditioning product, click into the team's program, go to our workout for today, which is going to be day 2, week 2. And now I can go from the team plan down specifically into Caleb's and add an exercise that we've titled the Hydro Protocol. And we're going to use the 5x15 with 30 seconds rest for this particular exercise today. And what we can also do is quickly throw in an instruction to help Caleb understand exactly what he's going to do in this exercise. Now, making this modification is great, but we also then need to make sure it's distributed in all the different locations we need it. So firstly, we need to publish it, which makes it available in places like AMS, on the mobile app, on tablet. But if we're also a coach that likes to have backups, maybe we want to print out cards, okay, to make sure that if Wi-Fi fails in the weight room, we've got a backup. So I can multi-select athletes and one-click print new cards for everybody. And what we'll see in the last one here is we'll see Caleb's program with our added exercise. Now, the last thing we're going to do, again, because we don't have a lot of time as strength coaches, we're going to set up a tablet. We're going to talk about it in our next section for 4 of our athletes so that when they step off the field and come straight into the weight room, they can start interacting with the app and we can go through the training session without any interruption. How do I program once in teamwork, strength conditioning, and then have those exercises available on our VBT system, so in output? So it's one place to program, it's distributed everywhere so that you can spend less time double entering and more time actually with the athletes.
So in this case, I'm focused on just the lift. The coach and or the athlete in this case can see the modifications that are happening on that main lift, whether that's in a velocity or that's just entering in a simple weight to be able to track that on the back half. The lift is done in this scenario. I'm now back in the locker room in the kiosk application there within the facility to weigh back out, which is also going to show where Dan's going next, some of the prescription that's going to come off of this from what's happened in practice, and also within the lift with some fluid recommendations and nutritional recommendations here later in the day.
Cool. So Caleb's day in the facility is almost done, but we know that there's still a lot of work to be done by the human performance team, having a look at all of the data that's being collected. So we've had a practice, we've had a lift, and what we need to do is, as quickly as possible, be able to review that data and start to get context so that we can begin to be more proactive in our decision making. Is there anything we need to do with Caleb today, or is there anything we might want to watch out for tomorrow in Caleb's training? So what we're going to look at here is we're going to zoom in on just 2 key data sets, strictly focusing on the load aspect. So we're going to look at how we can review the strength conditioning data that's been collected in the weight room, and then also the practice data from the practice earlier in the day. So we'll start with strength conditioning. So what we want to be able to do here is, again, get context on any flags from a volume standpoint for athletes. And what you'll notice there is it's not just total volume, but it's also load through movement patterns. We can get some longitudinal trends for the team in terms of how the team's been tracking day to day or even week to week. And then just a quick preview here, looking at things like push to pull ratio, you can start to do some program evaluation. But where we really want to zoom in here is with Caleb and look at his individual report. So now what we can do is we can see session by session what flags and how much volume we've done in different movement patterns. I want to draw your attention to those dull bars on the right-hand side, or those faded bars. They're actually future sessions. So with the integration with S&C, you can push not just what you've done, but also what you're planning to do. I can review individual workouts and see what we actually prescribed in the AMS, and I can also see a history of it below as I scroll back and forth. And lastly, I can look at an individual exercise and see from a volume standpoint or even a velocity trend standpoint how my athlete has been performing. Now, let's go over and look a little bit at the practice report. So this is, again, a simple practice report that's going to equate, firstly, the load from today's session, so I can see if anyone did more load than I was expecting, okay? We can see it in the table, but we can also look at the leaderboard, plotting a group average, and we can just see, right, who are my top performers, who are the guys that maybe didn't perform quite as well. And lastly, we just want to use a simple flag report here. So totals of last 7 days, 28 days, and then using the ACWR flags, the acute chronic workload flags, okay, we can then start to think about, do we need to have some conversations off the back of this, okay? We've got a lot of red there, okay, a little bit intentionally, but this would be something where you might want to actually have some more conversations amongst the team, like why are we seeing this across our group? So again, bringing all that data together as quickly as possible, once you get time to review it, is going to enable you to be very proactive.
We're going to start to kind of get the recovery pieces into play. What that's going to look like here within Teamworks is very simple. Going back to that same source of truth, communicating with the medical team that I've actually left the facility, coming back at 7 p.m. tonight to get into the cold whirlpool. Okay, so I'm going to have that contrast bath that's happening again at the area of opportunity that's going to meet me and that need. Now I'm back in facility with the same mobile application, checking into that appointment, letting the sports medicine team know that that has been done, which, as Dan will show you, will deliver right back into the EMR as well.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. So from the athlete perspective, hopefully it's being clear that we really want to simplify their life. Okay, we've talked about the single Teamworks app. Okay, but what we also saw is that the sheer number of actions that are taken across the performance team to drive the athlete throughout the day. And one of the things that we feel very strong, we know we've been able to do, is put together point solutions for each practitioner that allows them to do their daily processes seamlessly. But one of the strengths of an integrated technology stack is that you end up getting alignment across your human performance team when it all comes together into one system. Okay, and that's where the AMS really comes into its own in this piece. Okay, and then if we layer on with Caleb going through the Teamworks mobile app, now we've made everything so accessible. Okay, we've removed any barriers for our athlete. And what a system like this will produce, this integrated technology stack will produce, is coordinated care. And we saw that where the athletic trainer was able to pass off that modification to the programming to the strength coach, and then them being able to go on the strength conditioning tool and update the program. Okay, we saw the shared performance insights. Okay, going through the one readiness dashboard as a team so that everybody has an understanding of where the athletes are at. Data-informed prescription adjustments. So again, off the back of that meeting, allowing the dietitian to go over to the nutrition side and enter in an update to the meal plan. From the proactive decision-making side, we saw that illustrated where we were able to actually bring through future workouts into our AMS dashboard so we can start to see, okay, here's where we've been, here's where today's session was, what are we looking like tomorrow? And what we can do then is say, do we need to make adjustments? Right? Real-time athlete feedback. So we saw a couple of examples from the wellness questionnaire, but then we also saw even something like the meal ordering and getting that to the kitchen staff so they can cook it on time, okay, for Caleb is such a powerful piece. And then we're going to keep reiterating this, the simplified athlete experience. There's no longer 4 or 5 apps that your athletes need to go to. They open up the one Teamworks app and they can interact with all the different providers.